The Supreme Court is about to end the Democrat Party, accidentally, I'm sure, but this is what happens with redistricting. If redistricting, that is, if the Democrats are not allowed to redistrict by racist standards, their party is done. It is artificially held up by race-based redistricting, and the Supreme Court is going to look at it. I predict they're looking at it today. Right now, I predict they're going to overturn it and just say, no, you can't racially redistrict. And at that point, the Democrat Party will never win again.
It's the Doug Show, Doug Show, Doug Show. It's the Doug Show, Doug Show, Doug Show.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I'm Doug TenNapel. I'm the creator of Earthworm Jim, The Neverhood, Cat Scratch, video games, comic books, and now I do the news because I need to save America instead of merely entertain America. Of course, I'll also entertain you. Thank you guys for watching. Watch all the way to the end. Make sure that you subscribe as we get to the news. We're going to learn something together. I learned a lot just in doing the research on this. So first up, this is the America First legal Twitter feed. It says, today, the Supreme Court hears arguments in key Voting Rights Act case. The congressional districts created based on race are discriminatory and perpetuate racism. Now, remember, they initially did this to counter white racism against white Democrat racism against blacks in the South. And then now they're weaponizing it and using it far beyond what it was ever intended to protect. It ends up becoming a reverse kind of racism. America First Legal submitted a brief arguing the race does not determine voting behavior. We're going to prove it in this video that race does not determine voting behavior, and that assuming otherwise is discriminatory. Here's the actual document to the Supreme Court of the United States, and the state of Louisiana is the appellant. That's the main thing this is going to focus on, is Louisiana. On appeal from the United States District Court for the Western District of Louisiana, brief, America First Legal, and then it goes down here to all the lawyers involved. Now, let me build out my case. This is going to take a second, okay? But just trust me on this one. This is what I mean by they'll never win again. Here's CNN with polls that show that today in 2025, see the 2025 there? By October, this month, the Democrats should be ahead +8 in the polls. They're not. They're dead cat bounce. They have the same numbers. We're going to compare it to 2017 right there. +8. Watch this.
2018, right? Because that's sort of the baseline. That was, of course, the first Trump term. That was where Democrats were sort of keeping pace. You go back to April, look at the generic congressional ballot. What'd you see? You see +3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see +3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now jump over to this side of the screen. What happens? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018.
So in 2017, that October, that +8 was when Trump's Congress got massacred, okay? We didn't win enough. We should have won, right? But we didn't win enough. So if the Democrats go up in numbers to +8, in a poll, which they can't do because they're pro-trans, they're shutting down the government. We're going to go into all that. They're doing incredibly unpopular things, which benefits us at the congressional level, and that's going to keep Trump from getting impeached. You guys see the stakes now?
You look back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I remember covering this. I remember a lot of folks, including myself, saying, you know what, Republicans look pretty decent right now in terms of the fact that they had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, but things were likely going to flip. And I was looking for the same signs this year. The bottom line is it hasn't happened, Kate Baldwin. It hasn't happened. Democrats have stayed basically steady. They have fallen off the pace. Democrats are way out ahead back in 2017 on the generic congressional ballot. And now we're basically looking at Democrats ahead. But again, they are so far in back of the pace that they set back there. And so I think what a lot of folks are seeing, folks like myself, are saying, wait a minute, given what we might be seeing in redistricting, is this +3 going to be enough, Kate Baldwin?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. One change from that cycle is also this mid-decade redistricting effort that we've been covering.
That's the Louisiana redistricting, but first I have to make fun of her CNN paper coffee cup. You're a professional and you're holding that to-go cup? Come on, you can put it down before you go on the air. You're going to eat a breakfast sandwich also on the air?
Add that in and what do you get?
Okay, so we add that and we take a look at the national picture, but then we, of course, taking a look at the state legislators, right? They are potentially changing things, and there are two things that
She's drinking her coffee. Come on, girl, you can't wait 30 seconds?
Going on here. First off, net mid-decade redistricting gains. If both sides max out at this point, there are more Republican gains possible than Democratic gains. Yes, the Democrats might try to counter a Texas and a California, but you go along in the different states and basically Democrats run out of room where Republicans are able to gain and gain and gain. If both sides max out, we're probably looking at a GOP gain of +7 House seats.
And she coughs off screen. Okay, those +7 House seats are significant. Why? Remember what he said? He said Republicans have a lot more ceiling to run with on redistricting gains. Democrats are maxed out because Democrats have been cheating at the redistricting level, faking their own popularity and manipulating votes because that's who they are. That they have no more redistricting they can do to benefit them. Republicans, if we play by Democrat rules, and this is about not having a two-tier justice system, if we redistrict our states the way Democrats have redistricted there, we will gain at least 7 seats. But now they're saying with this Louisiana thing, if we force Democrats to remove their race-based redistricting, we could gain 10 or 20 seats. Watch this. We'll continue.
That doesn't even take into account the potential gutting of the VRA that is right now going to be in front of the Supreme Court. If you add that in, you could be looking...
Voting Rights Act.
The VRA is the Voting Rights Act before the Supreme Court.
Yes, exactly right. The Voting Rights Act. If you add that in, then you could be looking about adding 10, 12, 15, 17 on top of this 7 seats. So I think a lot of folks like myself are looking at this. We're seeing, hey, wait a minute. Those national polls Democrats are not gaining the way that we
10, 12, 15, 17 seats on top of these 7 seats. Suddenly, I just want you to picture Mike Johnson having a 17 or 20 seat lead to accomplish Trump's agenda in budgets, in all lack of shutdowns, the big, beautiful bill. Only Rand Paul and Thomas Massie would be voting against it, and their voice would be irrelevant at opposing the Trump agenda. I hope you can see this now. This is the end of the Democrats' influence. We already have it ending at the presidential level, and now we could end it at the congressional level, which is even more important to take away that branch of government. And we've already got the Supreme Court largely leaning right. But there's more. Here's Greg Price on the Louisiana redistricting. See this blue slash? That is all of the Democrat redistricting. Look at that shape. They're supposed to be clusters, tight clusters. Does that look like a tight cluster to you? They just went in and found a racial district. If it had black people in it, they would make it into a district. And so that's what that District 6 and 2 look like for the Democrats. And that's what the Supreme Court's going to obliterate. Today, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in Louisiana versus Calais, which will decide if mandating that the states draw congressional districts based on race under the Voting Rights Act is constitutional, which it's not. For years, Democrats have taken red states to court to mandate that they draw majority black congressional districts like this one at the center of today's case that stretches all the way from Shreveport to New Orleans. It's a case that reflects a broader redistricting fight, which has nothing to do with the evils of gerrymandering, but the fact that the Democrat Party, by counting illegal aliens in the census, undercounting the populations of red states, and weaponizing the Voting Rights Act, has given themselves more political power than they deserve, and they're terrified because these pillars of Democrat power may soon be coming to the end, and that will end the Democrat Party, which is why we're talking about this now. Now I want to show you, this is the actual argument before the Supreme Court, the actual oral argument. Listen carefully to this defense or this accusation on majority black districts in Louisiana. Listen.
That's right. And in the state of Louisiana, that analysis was conducted in the Nairn case, and it was clear that regardless of party, white Democrats were not voting for black candidates.
Regardless of party, racist white Democrats would not vote for black candidates. That's why they redistricted the area, because of white Democrat racism, that even if a black Democrat ran, right, the white Democrats would not vote for him. So they said, fine, we're going to have to make a district that better reflects a balanced state. So they stretched it all out. That's not the case anymore. Now, blacks will vote for white and black candidates, both Democrat and Republican. It's been demonstrated. And whites will vote for black or white candidates, whether if they're Republican or Democrat. In other words, the racism has largely been removed as a problem in Louisiana, so it has been remedied. And so now the Democrats are trying to hold to that system to still gain their advantage, and it's been outdated. So the Supreme Court, I believe, is going to reverse this thing. This is an evil Democrat worldview. Here's Trump on the evil of the Democrats and how they're going to be ruined and done.
Honestly, can I put it in plain words for you?
Yes.
And you're a smart guy, so you all understand, but a lot of people don't. The Democrats are getting killed on the shutdown because we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being, and they're never going to come back in many cases.
This is like all of the Democrat racist programs that they started are getting shut down, and they're going to be gone for good. And it's going to give them a disadvantage. All their USAID stuff, all their fake, weirdo environmental stuff that is artificially getting paid for by yours and my tax dollars to essentially perform a Democrat agenda, which is wrong. And Trump is shutting them all down with his shutdown. And as he said, they're not coming back.
So we're being able to do things that we were unable to do before.
Good.
So we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we wanted to close up or that we never wanted to happen. And now we're closing them up. And we're not going to let them come back. The Democrats are getting killed.
That's a threat to Schumer. You better open this government back up, because Russ Vought and Trump, they are gutting these programs and they're not coming back. And that's going to further weaken the Democrat Party. Here's more. Here's Mark Paletta. 34 years ago today, Justice Clarence Thomas was confirmed 52-48. All Democrats voting against him because they're racist against the world's greatest Supreme Court justice. And there he is. I just wanted to point that out today at the Supreme Court as we're arguing in Louisiana. 34 years ago today, Justice Clarence Thomas came into position. This is the greatest, he's my favorite all time. And that's George Bush, George the father, who everyone hates. He participated in giving us the greatest Supreme Court justice, I think, in modern history. And now, for the worst presidential candidate in modern history, you got to hear this quote from Kamala Harris, guys. This is what we were spared and what we will be spared in the future. America will never be able to vote for. This will never happen again if the Supreme Court rips out that racist redistricting in Louisiana. This will never happen again.
It's a decent resume, but go ahead.
Well, some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
And everyone cheers. She says she's the most qualified candidate ever to run for president. They're delusional. We're laughing. We're celebrating all the way. Thanks for making it to the end. Make sure you subscribe. I got way more videos to come for you with more news. Trump victories and Democrat losses is what we're about. I'm Doug in Exile. Thanks so much for watching.